Most people felt helpless. What happened to them?
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we'll be looking at the most puzzling cases of individuals who simply disappeared and have never been seen or heard from since.
A mom and a dad who just want to find their daughter.
Jim Sullivan. This folk singer-songwriter dreamed of becoming a music star and moved to Los Angeles to chase that dream. But despite some Hollywood connections and 2 albums under his belt, Jim Sullivan struggled to achieve mainstream success. His career frustrations began to affect his marriage, ultimately leading to his separation from his wife Barbara. In 1975, hoping for a fresh start, Sullivan set out for Nashville to revive his career. However, he mysteriously vanished while driving in New Mexico. His car was later discovered with all of his belongings inside, but there was no trace of him. Some believe he may have taken his own life or been abducted by aliens. Whatever the case, his disappearance remains one of music's strangest mysteries. Michael Negretti. Back in 1999, Michael Negretti was studying music at the University of California, Los Angeles on a scholarship. On December 10th, he attended a party with friends and later played an online video game with a dorm mate before calling it a night. By the next morning, Negretti had vanished. His belongings remained untouched in his room, but no one had heard from him. Initially, police treated it as a missing person case, but due to suspicious circumstances, the investigation was later reclassified as a homicide. They mounted an extensive search of the school campus and combed through over 500 leads, but came up with nothing. Negretti remains missing, and a $100,000 reward for information on his whereabouts is still unclaimed. Tara Calico. On September 20th, 1988, Tara Calico went on her usual bike ride near her home in Belen, New Mexico, and never returned.
This is where it started. Down a quiet highway on the outskirts of Belen, 19-year-old Tara Calico was on a routine bike ride not far from her home when she vanished in 1988.
When her mother went searching, she found nothing except for fragments of Calico's Sony Walkman and a cassette tape. For months, there was no lead, until June 1989, when a woman found a picture at a Florida convenience store showing a young woman and a boy being held in the back of a van.
The nationwide frenzy brings a second family into the spotlight.
The mothers of Mike and Tara were strangers only a week ago. Now they're brought together in a common cause, a national effort to find their missing children.
Calico's mother believed this woman was her daughter, and this was supported by investigators at Scotland Yard, although an FBI analysis of the picture proved inconclusive. In 2023, authorities announced they had sufficient evidence pointing to specific persons of interest, but those details have yet to be made public.
Right now, a team is working to go through 3 decades worth of police files. In order to sign off on charges, they have to rule out the laundry list of suspects who were named over the years. There's no hard timeline on when or if charges will be filed.
Kiera Coles. The last time 26-year-old Chicago postal worker Kiera Coles was seen alive was on October 2nd, 2018.
I knew it was something wrong when her phone kept going to voicemail.
That night, just before 11 p.m., Coles, who was 3 months pregnant at the time, was caught on surveillance cameras making an ATM withdrawal before leaving the store, never to be seen again.
This is her. She's withdrawing cash from an ATM inside a Chatham Walgreens. This was the night she disappeared.
Authorities believe she was with a man who then drove her car to her neighborhood, parked it, and left in his own vehicle. This man, identified as Josh Simmons, Cole's boyfriend and the presumed father of her unborn child, was named as a person of interest. However, no arrest seems to have been made, and a $25,000 reward remains available for any information that could help solve the case.
Postal investigators tell us they've had 400 leads and say they can't imagine the level of pain, grief, and frustration felt by Kiera Cole's family. They're offering a $25,000 reward for information leading to her whereabouts.
The Springfield Three. On June 6, 1992, the day of their high school graduation, Suzanne Streeter and Stacy McCall attended several parties in their hometown of Springfield, Missouri.
After making several stops, the girls returned to Streeter's home that she shared with her mother, Cheryl Levitt.
In the early hours of the next morning, they retired to the home of Streeter's mother, Cheryl Levitt, planning to spend the night and meet friends later that day. When they failed to show up, their friends went to Levitt's home, only to find that all three had disappeared.
Janice McCall recalls going to Levitt's home 25 years ago, finding the purses of all three women.
The house showed no signs of struggle except for a broken porch lamp and Levitt's visibly agitated dog. Unfortunately, a proper investigation into the disappearance was hindered by multiple errors, including the inadvertent erasure of a mysterious voicemail and contamination of the house by concerned friends and family.
She still holds out hope that one day we might learn the truth about what really happened to Springfield's three missing women.
The Beaumont Children. Any sense of safety residents of Adelaide, South Australia had was shattered on January 26, 1966.
Nancy Beaumont thought her three children would be home by 1 o'clock. Increasingly panicked, she waited as bus after bus returned from the beach without them.
That day, three siblings, Jane, Arna, and Grant Beaumont, left home, boarded a bus, and headed to the nearby Glenelg Beach for a day of fun. It was the last time their parents ever saw them. Eyewitnesses later recalled seeing the children playing with a thin, tall man in his mid-30s before walking away with him.
An elderly couple saw Jane, Arna, and Grant playing with a tall man, whose description they later gave to police.
Because they seemed at ease, no one found the interaction suspicious. After they failed to return home, their parents contacted the authorities, who searched the beach and its surroundings, but found no trace of them. The case remains unsolved, and the Beaumont parents passed away without ever knowing what happened to their children.
The family have suffered considerably for a long, long time without any answers.
Brian Shaffer. 27-year-old medical student Brian Shaffer walked into a bar just after midnight on April 1st, 2006, and simply vanished.
The following day, his girlfriend was getting concerned because she was unable to reach Brian.
Shaffer had been partying with friends, but got separated from them at some point. When the bar closed, his friends, still unable to find him, went home, assuming he had already left. But days passed with no sign of Shaffer, and he missed a long-planned flight to Miami.
Saturday passed without a word from Brian. By Sunday morning, Alexis was growing more and more concerned. She hadn't talked to Brian since that Friday night call, and they were due to leave for Florida the next morning, and he still wasn't answering his cell.
Concerned, his family reported him missing. Police reviewed surveillance footage, which captured Shaffer chatting with two women outside the bar, but never showed him leaving. Did he fall into a nearby construction site, become a victim of foul play, or vanish intentionally to start a new life? The answer to this puzzling mystery remains unknown.
The people closest to Brian still hope that one day they'll learn the truth.
Maura Murray. Often called the first crime mystery of the social media age, Maura Murray's disappearance occurred just days after Facebook launched.
Her disappearance, one of the first missing cases to capture national and international attention.
On February 9, 2004, the University of Massachusetts Amherst nursing student made travel plans, packed some belongings into her car, and left campus. Earlier that day, she had emailed her professors claiming a death in her family required her to be away for a week.
That morning, she emailed her professors saying there had been a death in the family and she would be gone for a week. Her family says that wasn't true.
I think that it was an excuse to buy some time. I think she used it as an excuse to get away from school.
According to her family, though, no such death had occurred. Murray was last seen by a motorist after she crashed her car sometime after 7 p.m. that evening. By the time the police arrived, she was gone. Since then, there's been no trace of her, and her family now believes she is likely dead.
We've had people supporting us from the beginning, and people joining all along the whole journey of trying to find out what happened to Maura. And so I want to, on behalf of my family, I want to thank everyone.
Madeleine McCann. In April 2007, Madeleine McCann and her family traveled to Praia da Luz, Portugal for a holiday.
3 years ago, in a small town on the Algarve coast in Portugal, an extraordinary chain of events was triggered.
On the penultimate night of their trip, McCann's parents, Kate and Jerry, left her and her younger twin siblings asleep in their apartment while they dined at a nearby restaurant. They checked on the children periodically, but around 10 p.m. they discovered that Madeleine was missing. A massive search effort followed, involving both Portuguese and British law enforcement.
Please, if you have Madeleine, let her come home to her mummy, daddy, brother and sister.
Meanwhile, the McCanns launched a high-profile media campaign to try to draw attention to the case. Various suspects were considered, including the McCanns themselves, a British-Portuguese resident named Robert Murat, and Christian Bruckner, a convicted sex offender.
The police got in touch with the man who'd been named, but they had nothing that could tie him to her disappearance and didn't pursue an investigation. The suspect named was Christian Bruckner. It was the first time German investigators had linked his name to the case, but it wouldn't be the last.
However, no one was formally charged, and the case remains unsolved.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications.
Lauren Spearer. On the night of her disappearance in 2011, Indiana University student Lauren Spearer went out partying and reportedly became very intoxicated.
The 20-year-old Indiana University student, after a night out with friends, never made it home to her Smallwood apartment.
Around 4:30 a.m. on June 3rd, she left a friend's apartment and began walking barefoot towards her own. That was the last time she was seen. While surveillance footage captured parts of her night, no cameras recorded her final steps home. Later that morning, her boyfriend reported her missing, prompting police to conduct a 9-day search of a nearby landfill.
Somebody knows something, and I would just beg and plead that that person come, however they want to get us that information. I don't care.
Despite this and other extensive efforts, no trace of Spearer was ever found. In 2015, investigators noted similarities between her case and the murder of another Indiana University student, but after further review, the connection was dismissed. Spearer's whereabouts remain unknown.
Since June 3rd, Lauren's parents have led the search effort, personally meeting with volunteers who scoured the Bloomington area and beyond, but have been unable to find the missing 20-year-old.
Are there any obscure disappearance cases you think deserve more media attention? Spotlight them in the comments below.
I really hope that someday in our lives we can know what happened to Madeleine McCann.
Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.